My name's Adrian, I'm 34, and to be honest, I hadn't planned on putting this all down. But after what happened at my brother's wedding, I feel like I need to unload it somewhere. It's been sitting heavy on my chest. Just to give a bit of background, my relationship with my younger brother, Tyler, has always been complicated, to put it mildly. He's 31 now, charming as hell, successful, and he's always had a knack for playing the golden child role to perfection. Me? I've always been the quieter one. The planner, the one who fixes things, the guy who stepped in to cover bills when mom and dad fell short. And yet, somehow, I've always ended up as the background character in everyone else's big story. Tyler and I weren't close growing up, not even remotely. He was the kind of kid who'd break something and point the finger at me, and I'd be the one to take the blame just to keep the peace. My parents would just sigh and shake their heads, tell me, he's still learning, Adrian. You're the older one. Set the example. And so I did. Like when he stole my car at 17 and clipped it backing out of a party. I handled the insurance myself and never breathed a word of it to our parents. Or when he called me from jail at 21 after getting caught trying to steal cologne for his girlfriend. Guess who bailed him out? Yeah, me again. No drama. No lectures. Just another quiet cleanup job. So here we are in the present, Tyler's getting married to a woman named Marissa. I'd met her a handful of times over the past couple years, and I'd be lying if I said we ever hit it off. She's got this way of looking at you, like she's already over the conversation before it even starts. Always decked out like she's expecting paparazzi, always scanning the room like she's on the lookout for someone more interesting. One time she called my job in logistics, cute. I've kept my distance since. Still, when the wedding invites went out, I said yes. I even pitched in and helped Tyler with some of the planning, recommended a great caterer I'd worked with through my job. He ended up using them. I wasn't expecting to be the best man or anything, I'm not delusional, but I thought maybe I'd be seated somewhere decent. Maybe I'd feel like I belonged, just for a night. The venue was beautiful, straight out of a fairy tale. It had this countryside charm with string lights strung across tall oak beams, and a quiet little lake shimmering in the background. Very Instagram-worthy. I showed up early, gift in hand, a sleek, engraved decanter set with their initials and the date. Nothing extravagant, but tasteful. Something they could actually use and keep for years. I went over to the welcome table, where this girl with a headset and a clipboard gave me a tight little smile. "You're Adrian, right?" she asked. I gave her a nod. She scanned her list and then frowned slightly. "You're marked down as a +1. I blinked. "Sorry, what?" "Yeah, you're listed under the +1s, so we put you near the kitchen, by the fold-out tables. If you'd brought someone, it would have been different, but since you're solo." My stomach dropped. "I'm his brother." She froze, wide-eyed. Oh, wow. "I'm so sorry, that must be a mistake. Let me." Before she could take off, Marissa suddenly appeared, white dress spotless, makeup flawless, and that signature smile of hers that never quite reached her eyes. "Hey, Adrian," she said, dragging out my name like it didn't sit well in her mouth. "So glad you could come. I mentioned the seating thing." She didn't miss a beat. "Oh, yeah, I told the planner about that. Hope it's not a big deal, we just had to make some tough choices when it came to space." I stared at her. "You sat me by the kitchen." She laughed lightly. "Not in the kitchen, just close to it. It's where we put the +1s, you know. Technically you're not in the bridal party, and we had to prioritize friends and extended family. No hard feelings, right?" I looked past her into the reception hall. Tables dressed in fine linens and floating candles. Guests laughing, clinking glasses. My uncle, who hadn't spoken to Tyler in 6 years, was seated dead center. My cousin Ryan, who once stole money out of our grandma's purse, had a seat. And then I saw her. Tessa. My ex sitting just 2 tables away from the couple's sweetheart spot, sipping Prosecco and laughing. Tyler introduced us 5 years ago. When we broke up, I later found out they'd kept in touch. Of course she got a seat. Marissa must have noticed where my eyes had landed. "Oh yeah, we invited Tessa. She and Tyler stayed friends. She's always been so supportive. That's okay with you, right?" I didn't respond. Just nodded slowly. I made my way to my assigned seat, a lonely fold-out at the end of a tiny table, right by the swinging kitchen door. Every few seconds, servers burst through with trays of food, brushing past me with rushed apologies. The air was stuffy, noisy, and smelled like fish and scorched rosemary. I sat there. Just for a second. The music started. The couple made their entrance. Applause erupted. I watched as Tyler leaned in to whisper something to Tessa while walking past her table, and she smiled back at him, just a little too warmly. My gift got shuffled to the side with a stack of other unopened boxes. I stood up, walked back to the gift table, picked up the decanter box. And then I headed for the exit. As I passed the dance floor, Marissa turned and saw me. Her voice cut through the music. "Wait, where are you going?" I paused, turned back to face her. The room quieted just enough to hear me say, "+1 this." A few people gasped. I think someone even laughed under their breath. Didn't matter to me. I kept walking, steady and straight toward the doors, still holding the gift box. I wasn't storming out or making a scene. I moved slow, on purpose, in control. Calm. And I think that's exactly what made it hit harder. As I stepped into the parking lot, I heard footsteps coming up fast behind me. It was Tyler. He was half jogging, Tuck's jacket flapping, lips moving like he had something to say but couldn't quite figure out what. "Adrian, wait up, man. What the hell was that? Why are you leaving? Come on, it's my wedding." I turned around and faced him head on. "You let her put me at the table by the kitchen." He froze for a second. I didn't know. She made the seating chart. I thought, look, I didn't think it was a big deal. I let out a dry laugh and shook my head. "Not a big deal. You sat Tessa, closer to you than your own brother." He shifted uncomfortably, scratched at the back of his neck like it itched. "We weren't trying to push you out, man. It's just." Marissa had her ideas. She didn't want any tension. "Tension," I repeated, slowly. "You mean me being in the same room as a girl who dated me, who you stayed friends with, even after we broke up?" He didn't answer. Didn't even try. And that silence, that hesitation, that was it for me. That was the crack where something inside me either snapped, or finally snapped back into place. I didn't yell. Didn't toss the gift. Didn't say anything cruel just for the sting of it. I turned away, unlocked my car, and climbed in. As I pulled out of the gravel lot, I glanced in the rear view and saw him still standing there, one hand half raised like he couldn't decide whether to wave or just let it drop. He looked frozen, somewhere between guilt and confusion. But that wasn't even the real breaking point. I didn't go home right away. I just drove. No destination in mind. Just the windows down, letting the night air keep me grounded, keep me from boiling over. Eventually, I ended up at this quiet overlook just outside town. The kind of place where the whole city looks like a blanket of fireflies tossed across the dark. I parked. Turned off the engine. Sat there in the quiet, not just thinking about the wedding, but all of it. The years. The patterns. The favoritism. The constant, quiet way I'd been treated like an afterthought. Like a placeholder in my own family. And right there in that stillness, I made a call. Not on my phone, just in my head. A decision. I wasn't going to keep swallowing it anymore. I wasn't going to stay quiet just to keep the peace. I ignored all of Tyler's texts that night. And the ones that came the next morning. Marissa even sent one, "Hey, sorry about the mix-up yesterday. Hope you're not still upset. Let's move on, yeah." I left her on read. But I did something else. I opened my laptop. See, my job's in logistics and event coordination. I don't just plot delivery routes and manage schedules, I handle crises, troubleshoot vendor issues, and make sure events run smooth behind the scenes. And funny enough, one of my recent clients, the caterer Tyler and Marissa used for the wedding, the one I personally recommended, the one whose business I'd helped grow with referrals and contract work. So I made a polite call to Nancy, the catering manager. She's sharp, no nonsense, and had already thanked me several times for hooking her up with the gig. I told her the truth, that I felt disrespected. That I wasn't just some +1 they tossed near the kitchen. That I was reconsidering if I could keep sending her work going forward. She paused, then said something that stuck with me. "We were scrambling that day. They underpaid the deposit and then changed the guest list 3 days out. Honestly, if you hadn't helped with the logistics, we never would have pulled it off. I'm really sorry you got treated like that. That's all I needed. Because that meant there were cracks. Records. Contracts. Leverage. But I didn't come out swinging. That's not my style. I'm not a fire and fury kind of guy, I'm a slow burn. So I started small. First, I cancelled the custom order I'd set up for their real wedding gift. The decanter I brought wasn't the whole thing. I'd also ordered a full set of crystal glassware to be delivered the following week. I didn't just cancel it. I rerouted it. Sent it to myself instead. Figured I might as well enjoy the Scotch glasses, since I was clearly the only one who'd appreciate them. Next, I made a quiet call to the wedding photographer, another professional friend of mine. She'd taken gorgeous shots at the wedding, and usually gave a generous discount to people I referred. I told her I wouldn't be sending her any more business if she extended that same rate to Tyler and Marissa. She understood right away. No pushback. One by one, I started cutting threads. Carefully, quietly, cleanly. Then came the big moment, about a week later. I got an email from Tyler. The subject line just said, "Need help?" Of course. Classic. Turns out he and Marissa had been gifted this massive 3-week honeymoon extension to Bali by one of her loaded uncles. But now they were scrambling, passport delays, missed flights, last-minute rescheduling for villas and bookings. His message read, "You're the only one I trust to fix this stuff." He didn't apologize. Didn't mention the wedding at all. Just a straight-up plea, "You're good at this kind of thing. Please, man, help me." I stared at the screen for a long minute. Then I opened a new draft and typed, "Hey Tyler, I'd love to help. But unfortunately, this +1 isn't taking bookings anymore. Best of luck." I didn't send it. Not because I was second-guessing. No. I just realized something even more satisfying, something quieter, something cleaner. I didn't need to say a damn thing. Instead, I forwarded his email to Angela, an old colleague of mine who now handles high-priority travel logistics for high-profile clients. I didn't ask her to assist him. I asked her to flag him. To blacklist the name. Yeah, it was petty. I'll admit that without flinching. But it felt like justice. After years of being the fixer, the behind-the-scenes lifeline for a family that barely noticed the weight I carried, I was finally setting it down. Letting the whole thing collapse without me there to hold it up. 2 days later, I got a text from Tyler. He didn't sound like a groom anymore, more like a guy watching everything slip through his fingers. "Did you tell Angela not to help us? She said something about a non-client block. What's going on, man? We're stuck in Singapore. Flights got cancelled. The villa won't give us a refund. Marissa's losing her mind. What the hell is your problem?" I didn't text back. I was out having dinner with a friend when Marissa's name flashed across my phone screen. This time, she was calling. I let it ring. Straight to voicemail. "Adrian," her voice snapped through the speaker, "I don't know what your problem is, but Tyler is seriously freaking out. If this is about the wedding, grow up. We didn't mean to hurt your feelings. You've made your point. Now stop being childish and fix it." And that actually made me laugh. Right there at the table. Loud enough that my friend raised an eyebrow. Nope. I didn't fix it. Didn't reply. I just leaned back and waited. Because here's what they didn't know. That whole wedding. It was a house of cards. Remember that catering invoice? The one they lowballed? Yeah. Turns out when you give inaccurate guest counts, change menu requests after the deadline, and don't pay in full within 2 weeks, well, that triggers the breach clause. Comes with a 25% penalty. Nancy, the catering manager. She'd had enough. So she filed a formal complaint with the venue. Then the bartender followed her lead. He'd been shorted too. And suddenly, Tyler and Marissa weren't just scrambling over their blown honeymoon, they were looking at thousands in late fees, withheld deposits, and penalty charges. All because they tried to cut corners, and cut me out. And I still hadn't played my last card. 2 weeks after their honeymoon mess, I started getting tagged in wedding photos on social media. A distant cousin had posted an album titled "Beautiful Wedding, Unforgettable Night. Congrats Tyler and Marissa." Out of curiosity, I clicked. And what I saw. It was like a greatest hits collection of my own erasure. 83 photos. In exactly one, you could barely make out the back of my head, blurry, near the swinging kitchen doors. I wasn't in the family portraits. Not a single toast shot. No caption shout out. Nothing. But guess who was featured? Tessa. Tagged, smiling, dropping likes and hearts all over the place. That's when it stopped feeling like a mistake. That's when I knew, this wasn't bad planning. This was deliberate. Marissa had decided I didn't matter. And Tyler? He went along with it. So I stopped playing the quiet role. I stopped being the guy who just walked away. I decided to speak. I made a post, just one. No anger. No bitterness. Just the truth, laid out simple. A short slideshow of behind-the-scenes shots from my phone, me helping set up the tables, chatting with the florist, adjusting decor. I added a screenshot of the seating chart I'd been sent by mistake in a group email, where my name was literally labeled, +1, Tyler's brother, in parentheses. Like a footnote. Then I wrote, helped plan the wedding, found the venue, got the caterer a discount, showed up early to help set up, was seated next to the kitchen as a +1. Bride said I should understand, so I left quietly. 2 weeks later, they asked for help again. This time, I declined. Apparently, that makes me petty. I didn't expect it to take off, but it did. People shared it, commented, reached out, old high school friends, former co-workers, even some family members I hadn't heard from in a while. My cousin Lauren messaged me, I knew something felt off that day. You looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I didn't respond to everyone, but I read every word. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like someone actually saw me. But it wasn't just the sympathy that stuck with me. It was what happened next. 2 days after that post went up, Tyler called me again. I let it go to voicemail. This time, his voice wasn't sharp or defensive. It was uneasy. Nervous. Hey. So, Marissa's mom saw your post. And now Marissa's losing it. She thinks you're trying to ruin her image. Her boss follows you, man. She's saying we need you to take it down. I listened to that message while I was at the gym, played it twice. Then once more while walking to my car. And I still didn't reply. Instead, I made another post. Apparently, I've been asked to delete my last post. I guess the truth is a little too uncomfortable for some folks. I'd consider it, if it wasn't all 100% true. I won't be silenced for the sake of appearances. I spent years shrinking myself to keep other people comfortable. Never again. No names. No shade. Just truth. That's the trick, really. People can argue opinions all day, but screenshots. Seating charts. That's solid ground. And that post. It landed harder than the first one. Marissa's boss never said anything publicly, but a mutual friend sent me a screenshot, an internal Slack message reminding employees to maintain respectful personal conduct, even outside of work. Something about perception reflecting character. And from there, it started to unravel. The first real sign was a call from Marissa's mom. Not a voicemail this time. A full-blown call. I didn't answer. But she left a 3-minute rant that started with, "This is damaging our family's reputation," and ended with, "One day you'll regret making a scene over a chair." A chair. And just like that, I knew they still didn't get it. It was never just about the chair. It was about every moment before it. Years of being overlooked, dismissed, made small. And finally, choosing not to let it slide anymore. Then came the group texts. Tyler tried to do damage control, so he created a family group chat. Pulled in everyone, immediate and extended family. His first message. "Hey everyone, just want to address the recent social media stuff. I think things got a little blown out of proportion. Let's all try to move forward." I stared at it for a second, then I typed, "Happy to move forward. But only once people take accountability. Not when they call consequences, drama." Silence. Then my aunt chimed in, "I always wondered why you were in the back. We just assumed you volunteered to help with the kitchen or something." Another cousin added, "Honestly, I thought you left early because you weren't feeling well. Had no idea you were treated like that." And just like that, the story they tried to craft, carefully, quietly, started falling apart. Tyler left the group chat. Marissa blocked me on everything. But here's where it really came full circle. About 3 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. Thick, cream-colored envelope, no return address, the ink slightly smudged like someone held it too long. Inside was a handwritten note. "Adrian, I've been doing a lot of thinking. About everything. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. I let Marissa make all the calls because I thought keeping the peace was more important than standing up for my brother. I was wrong. You've always been there for me. And I made you feel invisible at one of the biggest moments of my life. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say thank you, for all the things you did. And I'm sorry, for all the things I didn't." Tyler. No excuses. No justifications. Just that. I slid the letter back into the envelope and set it on my desk. And I haven't replied. Not yet. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't revenge. It's leaving people to sit in the silence they built, without you. Letting them finally notice the absence of the one person who'd been quietly holding up the roof all along. And this time, I'm not holding it up anymore. I didn't toss the letter. I didn't rip it up or write some dramatic response. I just let it sit there for a week, tucked under a paperweight. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate the apology. I did. Part of me had waited my whole life to hear Tyler admit he was wrong without the usual back doors. No, you're being sensitive. No, I didn't mean it like that. But I also knew this wasn't just about a wedding. It wasn't even about a chair. It was about a lifetime of being the fallback plan. The fix-it guy. The emotional sponge. And I had gotten so used to being the strong one, the steady one, that I never realized how far I'd let myself be buried just to make room for everyone else. The silence I held now wasn't bitterness, it was clarity. I needed to figure out what kind of relationship I wanted going forward. Not just with Tyler, but with my entire family. And then the holidays rolled around. Thanksgiving was hosted at my parents' house, just like always. Turkey, stuffing, the works. And to no surprise at all, Tyler and Marissa were still invited. Or maybe I should say still included, because for the first time, I was really seeing just how often I hadn't been. I hadn't fully committed to going, but about a week before Thanksgiving, my mom called. "It would mean a lot if you came, Adrian," she said. "No drama, I promise." I said yes, not to be polite, not to smooth things over, but because I wasn't in the business of dodging hard conversations anymore. When I walked into the house that afternoon, something felt different. Not exactly tense, just quieter. More careful. A few cousins gave me small nods. My aunt offered a half-smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Tyler was in the living room setting up chairs when he spotted me. He froze for a second, then gave me a quick, unsure wave. Marissa wasn't there. Later, my mom whispered that she had other plans this year. Which, let's be honest, probably meant she couldn't handle being in a room full of people who now saw through her curated persona. We sat down to eat. Tyler stayed mostly quiet during dinner, pushing food around his plate, occasionally laughing a little too hard at other people's jokes. He kept sneaking glances in my direction, like he was hoping for a sign, a signal that the air had cleared, that we were good again. But I didn't give him one. After dessert, with the football game murmuring in the background and folks drifting between rooms, he found me in the kitchen. We were alone. "Thanks for coming," he said, quietly. I nodded. "Thanks for the letter." That seemed to ease something in him. Like it was the opening he'd been waiting for. "I meant it," he said. "Every word. I let it all get way out of hand. I was a fool." "You were," I replied. No sugarcoating. He needed to hear it plain. He flinched a bit, but didn't push back. "I was hoping, maybe we could get back to normal," he said. I looked at him. "Define normal, Tyler." Because for me, normal meant being your safety net. The guy you called when you were in a jam, but not when you got promoted. Normal was being seated next to a swinging kitchen door at your wedding like I barely counted. He let out a breath. I know that now. I don't want it to be like that anymore." "You might want that," I said. "But you have to earn it. I'm not handing out forgiveness like it's a party favor. You don't get to disrespect someone for years and patch it up with one good apology." He nodded, eyes lowered. "So what do I do?" I crossed my arms. "You show up. You stop making everything about yourself. You take responsibility without being asked. And you stop expecting me to fix everything when it falls apart." Another pause. Then, "Okay. I can do that." I shrugged. "We'll see." He didn't try to joke it off. Didn't go for a hug. For once, he just let the discomfort hang there between us, and didn't try to squirm out of it. That was new. That was something. In the months that followed, something unexpected happened. Tyler actually started trying. Nothing big at first. A few texts here and there that didn't ask for favors. Just simple check-ins. "Hey, how's work? Thinking of you." They weren't flowery. But they were steady. Then one Saturday, he showed up at my place with coffee and a bag of croissants. "No reason," he said, holding up the bag. "Just figured we could hang out." We watched a game. Talked about work. He didn't bring up the wedding. Didn't ask for help with any chaos. He just existed. With me. As my brother. It wasn't a movie moment. I didn't suddenly trust him overnight. But something had shifted. And little by little, I let myself meet him halfway. Marissa. She never reached out. Word got around that she wasn't thrilled about how everything went down. She lost some friends over it, especially the ones who saw the truth and didn't like what they saw. She built a reputation all on her own. I didn't have to give it to her. By spring, Tyler and Marissa announced they were taking some space. Not a full-on breakup, but a re-evaluation. I wasn't surprised. I'd heard from others that things had been strained since Bali. And I guess when I stopped being their emotional concierge, it forced them to finally look at the cracks in their foundation. Tyler never went into too much detail, but over lunch one afternoon, he said something that stuck with me. I think I spent so much time trying to impress people that I forgot how to be real. Marissa loved the version of me that looked good on her feed. Not the guy eating cold pizza in a hoodie at midnight. I just nodded. It wasn't my job to comment on their relationship. But it was good to see him starting to get it. That summer, he invited me to a small backyard cookout for his birthday. No tuxedos. No formal seating. Just burgers, lawn chairs, and a cooler full of cheap drinks. At one point, he handed me the grill tongs and said, "You're on grill duty." Tradition, right? It wasn't a grand gesture. But it felt real. And later that night, when the sun dipped low and everyone was finishing off their drinks, Tyler raised his bottle and said, "To Adrian, for showing me what a real brother looks like, even when I didn't deserve it." I didn't give a speech. Just clinked bottles with him and said, "Took you long enough." Everyone laughed. And in that laughter, something settled. Forgiveness, I've learned, isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about deciding who's worth giving the future to. I still have that wedding decanter. It sits in my cabinet, not as some bitter reminder, but just as what it is, glass. Solid. Beautiful. And finally being used the way it was meant to be. Kind of like me.